Hello, welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. Yesterday I canned bacon and I love that stuff. I love having it on my shelf and I'll put a link to that video up here. But I have one jar that it sealed, but then the seal came loose within an hour. So I put that in the refrigerator and I decided I'm going to use it tonight. So what I decided to do, we love making breakfast tacos, as we call them in Texas. Other places will say breakfast burritos. It's the same thing. But we love having breakfast tacos for supper. Dinner for those of us up here, but I know, Mrs. Lori, I know you're going to tell me it's supper. So tonight, I'm going to make breakfast tacos for supper. And I'm going to use some of my home canned bacon. But I'm also going to use some of this and I'm going to make bacon flour tortillas. Doesn't that sound amazing? I found a recipe online for it. But I have my own recipe that I use for flour tortillas. And that comes out of this Cooking Texas Style cookbook that I've had for a long time. And I've been making those, but it calls for oil. And I've never used oil in my flour tortillas. I use lard. Well, what's this? That's lard. So I'm not only going to add some of my bacon grease in place of the oil or lard, I'm going to add some bacon to those tortillas. So I'm really excited to try this and I hope you come along, and these are going to be amazing. The very first step in these tortillas is going to be to fry up my home canned bacon. Now, again, I just canned this last night. The lid was sealed this morning when I took the ring off, and within an hour it came right off. So this rubber seal on my Tatler is probably going to be replaced because I've used these a number of times, and that one originally sealed and then it quickly lost its seal. So thankfully I checked it and knew that within a very short period of time. So what I'm going to do, when you pressure can bacon, it's fully cooked. I mean, what's in there, you can see that the fat has separated and it's cooked. However, it's not browned. So when you use this, the first thing you do is to brown it. So I'm going to put that in a skillet. And we're going to brown it up. And as you'll see in my video when I can this, I don't use bacon strips and I don't go through the parchment paper and all that because, you know what, almost always this is going to be used in a recipe. Which in a recipe you would cut it up and brown it. I'm just saving that step because when I bought these bacon ends and pieces, they're just leftover chunks from when they sliced the bacon. So when I cook it, it cooks down into basically kind of like little bacon bits. So again, this is fully cooked, but we're gonna now brown it. And in doing that, we're also going to separate out the bacon grease, which I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to go ahead, let this brown. Then I'm going to drain the bacon out of this so that I save the fat, but I also set aside the bacon and I want it all to cool. So let me get this fried up and we'll come back and start making our dough for the tortillas. Okay, I've got my bacon mostly browned. And this is what it looks like when you fry up the canned bacon. You can get it crispier if you like. That's just totally up to you what your choice is. But this is beautiful bacon. Now when you can it, you could cut it in little chunks and then can it, and it might be a little bit less stringy, and if that's what you would like, that would work. But for me, I don't mind it having this texture. And I just break it up, and you can see with a silicone spatula, I can break it up however I like it. It's that soft. And I'm going to take a taste of this. Delicious. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this. And what I'm going to, I have a slotted spoon and I'm just going to press out most of the fat with the spatula. Because I want to use that lovely bacon grease. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off because I want this to cool off. But I'm not going to worry 100% about getting all of the bacon out of this because I'm going to be using it right away. And we're going to be using some of this bacon in it, so I'm not worried about it being in there. We have this beautiful bacon grease, and we're going to use this to make our tortillas, and it's going to have so much flavor. To start the tortillas, I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. And before I do anything else, I'm just going to stir those together so you have those distributed throughout. what I'm going to do now is that lovely bacon grease that I saved. It's just slightly warm, and I've got 1/4 cup, which just happened to be what cooked out. Isn't that perfect? So I'm going to add that 1/4 cup of bacon fat or lard. And my dog Olive Oil is saying, I would love some of that bacon lard. She's blind and she uses that as an excuse. Now here I have that bacon that I've cooked up from my canned bacon. And I'm not going to be real exact. I'm going to put about 1/2 cup. And I'm just going to dump it right in there. And we're going to distribute that bacon throughout this flour mixture. And you want to make sure it's broken up good, so take this time to break up any chunks because we want these tortillas to be nice and have that flavor all throughout. And I'm just going to get my fingers in there and make sure that it's all broken up well. And I think it is. Now I have 1 cup of very warm water. And I'm going to put most of it in and stir it in. Just to get the dough started. Add some more water. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flour the board, and we're going to knead this for just a couple minutes, not a lot. And all we're looking for here is just for it to be no longer sticky. You don't have to go any further than that. And I think it's going to happen pretty quickly, but you just want to have a little bit of flour on the side. My sleeves don't want to stay up. I think this is what we're looking for. It's not sticking to my hands. So I'm going to cover this up. And I'm going to let it rest for 20 to 30 minutes. Flour needs that time to absorb and relax the gluten. So I could try and roll these out now, and I'm going to tell you it would get me nowhere. So let time do its work. It's going to make your job much easier. So I'm going to cover this up. I'm just going to take a piece of plastic wrap, cover it up. And I'm going to walk away and let it do its thing. All we want is for the flour to completely be absorbed and for the gluten to start relaxing, and then we'll come back and we're going to make our tortillas. It's been 30 minutes and I had the plastic wrap on it that kept it nice and moist so it didn't dry out, because I'm in the desert. Even with all the rain we're getting, things dry out quickly. So I'm just going to start making this into balls. And you want to make them about 1.5 inches. I don't know. Golf ball? I don't know, because I don't play that game. That just seems silly to me, chasing a ball around, but it's about that size. But you can actually make them whatever size works for you. I'm just gonna cut them into pieces, roll them into balls, and I'm putting them in a bowl. And what I'm gonna do is cover those up. So again, I don't want them drying out while I work the dough. So I'm just gonna get these all cut up. So the recipe says you'll get 16 to 18, or at least the recipe that I started with. Of course, I've changed it. And I'm getting 16, so these are about perfect. So I'm going to cover the bowl with all the balls of dough so that they don't dry out. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get my breakfast taco filling mostly done. So we'll come back in just a few minutes. Okay, time to cook these tortillas up. I rolled them out and got them fairly thin, but they're going to cook up a little thick. So you want to get them as thin as you can. You don't need to grease your griddle or comal. This has the fat in it. You don't need to add any. And you can see it's already browning up a little bit. And that quickly, it's already done. Time for the next one to go on the griddle. So as I cook them, I am putting them onto another plate, covering them with a towel so they stay warm. So I'm going to continue cooking all of my bacon tortillas, and then we'll come back and have a taste. So I have my bacon tortillas, my potato, egg, and bacon filling, and these are going to be so good. To me, this is comfort food. I love all of these. Let's take a taste. This is so good. This is what I grew up eating for breakfast many times, except for the bacon tortilla, because I had never heard of that before, but I am loving this because it just adds more flavor. Thanks for watching. God bless, and we'll talk again soon.